All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Ismortah, and this evening during my 7 p.m. Friday Central board game stream, be showing you these pretty miniatures you see before you. This is Marvel Crisis Protocol. This has been my secret project for the last month, assembling all these dudes, collecting as many as the ones that I was sought after. There's only one that I couldn't find. It was out of stock, and I'll get into that. And be sure, if you like what you see, to follow here on twitch.tv/Ismortah, as well as find me on other social medias as well, including YouTube. When this hits YouTube, either tonight or tomorrow, will be my 300th video on YouTube. Fucking crazy. I'll have 300 videos on YouTube. I've been doing this for a while. So yeah, look forward to that. And so I wanted to have a celebration stream and show you something really cool, obviously a different part of my place, and this awesome project that I have been working on. So for a while now, I have been interested in getting into miniatures, getting into the plastics, the wargaming, whatever you want to call it. And I realized I had a shit ton of Star Wars and nothing Marvel. Really, not really Marvel anything board game, actually. And so that's why I recently got into Marvel Champions, and now also Marvel Crisis Protocol, which is the miniatures game. This is, though, it's not quite the same type of miniatures game as you think about, like, Legion. I mean, yes, it is. It's plastic dudes on the ground fighting each other, going over terrain and shit. But line of sight works a little different in Crisis Protocol. And the main difference is that it's a skirmish game as opposed to an army game. Normally, like, war games, those are army games. You have squads of dudes coming in. This plays more like Infinity, that you'd have like a squad of 4 or 5 guys instead of 5 or 6 squads of guys. You have up to 5 dudes against like 5 other dudes. So yeah, but anyway, I'll probably have a future stream that I show you gameplay and such, but what I'm going to show you is all the pretties that I built. Definitely looking forward to, in the future, possibly painting these as well once I learn how the fuck to make it look good and not look like a clown. But yeah, another cool thing before I get into what I really like about Crisis Protocol is they give you a shit ton of actual terrain from the game that you can actually make instead of having to find some way to zombify or make it on your own. There's actually terrain you can get for the game that also comes in the core box, which is pretty cool. So you have stuff to fight around. And like I said, I'm not going to get through the minutia of how to play the game on this stream, because this is just to show you my pretties. But one of the things you also do in this game is you actually interact with the terrain. You don't just use it to hide behind. So for example, like, you can have a, like, She-Hulk right here. She can pick up this taxi and throw it at somebody. So it's pretty cool. So the terrain is now you hide behind, but you can actually interact with it in different ways, including throwing at your enemy, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this. So I'll do the terrain first, just because I was talking about it, but I'll give you a quick overview, though, sweep of all the dudes, and then I'll go into one by one, let you know who they are, and all that jazz. I have quite a collection. I believe I currently have 18 different heroes or villains you can play as, with the exception of the Hood, which I'll get into that, who has multiple forms. But yeah, when you play the game, it's not necessarily good versus evil shit. Think of more like you're playing like Marvel vs. Capcom or X-Men. Like, you just pick a couple guys for your roster and you fight. So they could be heroes, they could be villains, they could be arch nemesis on the same team. It's just you have a collection of guys. But there are advantages if you bring more than 50% of guys that are on the same affiliation. So for example, if 50% or more of your group of 5 guys are like the Avengers, then there's certain team tactics with Avengers you can do. Or like if what I was trying to assemble was the Midnight Suns, you can have special cards you can play. Or like the dude very back, Dormammu, you could if in his case, his special rules is if Dormammu is on any team, it instantly becomes the affiliation Dark Dimension, and he can't be on any other team. Everybody just assimilates, which is true to Dormammu, right? So yeah, so some cool tactics you can do while playing the game. Anyway, blah. We'll get it more time in the future stream. All right, so let me show you what I got. So I'll start with the biggest guy here, because you're like, what the fuck? This is the Sanctum Sanctorium, aka one of the what are they called? Ley line major points on Earth, which there are 3 that they build these sanctums to protect. Because if you've seen the first Doctor Strange, without getting too spoilery, in order for someone to enter our dimension, they have to enter through a ley line. It's not just, oh, I'll just show up in Pluto and then take over the entire dimension. These are gateways, and so it's guarding these different gateways, magical points that would then allow someone to enter our dimension, sort of thing. Anyway, blah. But yeah, so this is one of the sanctums protecting, in this case, the New York sanctum. And it's pretty cool because it's it's very large. Obviously, you can do line of sight because the guys are really small. But also, there's space so you can play on top as well. It's meant to it's hard to see from shadows, but you can move guys up to the top. And with the exception of this building, I haven't get the minutiae rules, but each of these terrain are assigned a different number. And in this case, it's 1 through 5, and depending on what type of terrain is and how large your character is, and what their strength is, you can throw or interact with different types of terrain. So, for example, this being a level 5, no one's probably gonna be able to pick it up. Maybe not even She-Hulk. But for example, She-Hulk, she could probably pick up like the Daily Bugle back here and throw it at somebody. The entire bugle, maybe. I haven't checked her stat cards, but like for example, whereas something smaller like a trash can, maybe that's something like someone smaller can throw, like Iron Man or something, who's not very strong. But you have characters like, for example, Doc Ock back here. He could probably like throw like a car at somebody, right? But it's unlikely he could throw like an entire small building. But maybe it's something like Dormammu or She-Hulk can do, for instance. And so they all have numbers in the very bottom, so you don't have to memorize. Unlike Legion, where you're trying to determine different obstacles, what their value is. Because these are pre-assembled and come from Atomic Mass Games, they tell you at the very bottom what the number is, so you don't have to remember. It's like, this is a 5. The Daily Bugle, you see in the back here, which I'll pick up and show you, is a 3. And then the cars and the dumpsters are 2s. The rifts and the portal are 2s, and then all these little objects they see, like you would see typically alongside the street, are 1. And you can see it's really based on size. But yeah, since I've talked about Bugle, but you see, like, this is cool. Like, this actually took a while to build, just this guy, because it's so many different plastic layers, you can see, but it has a lot of detail. It's pretty cool. Run around, interact with. So here's the Daily Bugle. Okay, so let me go double back for a sec. So this is its own expansion, the Sanctum Sanctorium. There's an expansion that's just that. That's all you get. In the core game, though, you get all of this terrain here, both cars, both dumpsters, and the Daily Bugle, and like half of these little items here. So you get a shit ton of terrain even in the core game. And also in the core game, you get 10 of the miniatures that I'm showing you here. So it's recommended to get, because that's how you get some of the other pieces. It's the only way to get, but it's a good way to enter, just because it gives you everything you need and a significant amount of dudes to have a roster and terrain to interact with. All right, so here's the Daily Bugle. Some better shots. Daily Bugs. And so you can run around it and potentially line of sight people. You can jump on top of it. And you can, even with certain characters, if you can interact with level 3 terrain, you can even pick it up and throw it at somebody. Yes. And as you would expect, it does a shit ton of damage. And actually, if I recall in the rules, you also can't roll to dodge it. When something like that happens, you can't dodge unless a character has a special ability, like maybe Spider-Man, that he can just like be able to dodge stuff. But normally, like, you can't. It does that much damage to you, so it's pretty devastating when you throw shit at someone's face. These are dumpsters. For funsies, I didn't glue the top of these, just so I could potentially, like, for fun, throw stuff in here just to hide. And then here are taxis. I'm entertaining, though, taking off the taxi thing up top. That way these can just be generic cars instead of having, like, taxis. Because normally if you see, like, a sitting taxi, you think someone should be sitting in the taxi. But anyway, it's cool. Like, you can have cars on the map. The whole idea is, like, you're fighting in the street. That's why you see all this different neighborhood stuff. You know, you can't have a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man without a neighborhood. And yes, I do have Spider-Man. And yes, that comes in the core set. We'll get to that. Other terrain, we have stop sign and some other things you would see on the side of the road. Everything in the front here, you get... I'm trying to think. I think a couple of these items might be with the core set. I forget. But yeah, basically, like, I would say this front row, this stuff you also get with Sanctum Sanctorum. So, like, you get to, like, the Bletcher Street, a stop sign, a couple little items. But all of these street lights and the lampposts actually come with the core set, and a couple of these smaller things too. And then, as far as these rifts you see here, that you might recognize from Doctor Strange, and Portal, all of these terrain actually come in the Dormammu expansion. So the Dormammu expansion, you get Dormammu, which is the biggest miniature I own for Crisis Protocol, as you can see, by far, and it comes with all of this terrain as well. That's largely because when you get Dormammu, he's also actually counted as like an ultimate encounter. So there's a special encounter you can set up that you have 2 teams, 2 players, go up against just Dormammu and try to stop him from sucking the Earth in our universe into his dimension. But you could also choose to just use him as a player. He counts as a lot of threat, obviously, because he's so large and powerful, but you could treat him just as a character as well, which is pretty cool. Other characters we got are... I'll just go down the list. In the back here, we have Ghost Rider. He was his own expansion. Oh my god. Why am I drawing a blank? Ultron. He comes in the core set. Dr. Octopus comes in the core set. We have Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, and Clea. Both of those come together in their own expansion. We have Venom. He comes in his own expansion. Here you have Crossbones. Comes in the core set. Oh my god. Black Widow. Drawing a blank. Knowing my heroes. Comes in the core set. Red Skull holding the Cosmic Cube. Yep, that's what you see. Pretty cool. And he has stuff that he actually uses the cube. Comes in the core set. That's probably one of my favorite villains I own besides Dormammu, just because, like, that's fucking cool. Of course, we got She-Hulk. Got to get our She-Hulk action because she is super popular, and like, I didn't really know much or care much about She-Hulk until, like, honestly, the show came out, and now I'm like all about fucking She-Hulk. It's like, wow, she's fucking awesome. So yeah, She-Hulk, she's her own expansion. We have Baron Zemo, who Probably didn't get as much credit as he was due in Captain America, but you could see him at all his jam in Crisis Protocol. He comes in the core set. Iron Man comes in the core set. Captain Marvel comes in the core set. See what we're missing. We have Captain America, of course, comes in the core set here. And Spider-Man, who also comes in the core set. And then lastly, in the front, we have... God, is it Dr. Voodoo? What's his name? Dr. Voodoo? Or is it Voodoo? I'll just say, I forget. Voodoo and the Hood both come the same expansion. All three of these models. Because the Hood, depending on what you do in the game, he's either in his human form, that he does mystical shit, he can, like, disappear and shoot mystical bullets, or he turns into a demon and then becomes, like, immune to mystical damage. So it's fun, like, depending on what happens, you change out the miniature and he transforms back and forth, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so total I have like 18 different characters you can play as. Technically 19 models because this guy can morph. The expansion that I was also trying to get, but it's currently out of stock almost everywhere, is Blade and Moon Knight. So that's definitely one I'm hunting down. Not only because it's cool, because mystical people I'm trying to get just because I was trying to build like the Midnight Suns, but also it's Blade who's the leader of the Midnight Suns. So if you just want any of the leader or team tactics cards for the Midnight Suns, you have to get Blade. So I was like, my dude. But yeah, he'll be next. So then I'll have an even 20 different characters you can play as. Mostly heroes, but a good portion of villains. And then obviously, also got, a bunch of females, but mostly males. So, you got a pretty good spread of different dudes you can play as. One of my favorite miniatures, though, let me get out so it's easy to see, is probably Ghost Rider. Just because it's pretty cool. Let's see, maybe you can see it better from right here. There we go. Because you see the bike is arced up, which is pretty cool. And then how he's like whipping around the whip, it really looks like it's whipping. It's pretty awesome. And he was one of my favorite comic books I was reading when I was little, too. He was one of the founding main members of the Silver Age Midnight Suns. If not every Midnight Suns, I would imagine. But yeah, a lot of cool dudes. Like, I really like the look of the miniatures. Like, I have to be honest, like, I didn't realize when I first got into it that the miniatures were so small. But there is a shit ton of detail. And it's kind of crazy how much detail they can get on these little miniatures. Honestly. Like, let's see, do I have anything I can show to scale? Yeah. Like, for example, this here's an Xbox controller box. So you can sort of see how big they are. Like, they're pretty small. Like, for example, like, here's my thumb. Right? So they're little dudes. I would say they're probably about the same size as Kingdom Death Monster Heroes. But definitely Legion is a little bit bigger, if you recall. And that's probably one of the cool things about this game that's attractive is because you're moving around so much less plastic on the board, it's easier to transport and to just play the game. There's less just administration of the game, trying to move around so much plastic depending on what you do. So that's pretty cool. You get the fun without all of the cleanup and work trying to get it to work. But I like both for different reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, you have all this different cool terrain, a lot of different characters. Like, I have a bazillion characters, and this is, like, only scratching the surface of how much crap you can get currently for Crisis Protocol. So it just really depends on what you want to get into. Are you more into, like, X-Men? Are you more into cosmic shit or Guardians of the Galaxy? Are you more into Spider-Man-verse guys? Or Avengers? Or X-Force? or A4s. Just like, it just depends what you're into. I believe the newest shit out now is all of the stuff for Black Widow. You have all of the different villains and heroes that were Russian based and all that jazz. So yeah, check it out at your local store. But no, this is it for in a nutshell. I didn't want this to be a long stream, just a celebratory on the new game I get into. It's gonna be my 300th video on YouTube, and to show you some of the cool stuff I've been building. And like I said, definitely expect a future stream showing you not only new models as I get them, but some gameplay as well. And again, you know, if you like what you see, be sure to follow here on twitch.tv/Ismortah. And again, you can also find us on YouTube in a bit as well. Okay, let me just find right quick if there's anything else cool detail besides maybe zoom in on some of these dudes. I'll see another fave that I'll zoom in right quick is Venom, since that's a fan. Venom and Doctor Strange. Let me show you right quick. I honestly, this guy because they look fucking cool. Come on, zoom. Let's see if I get this to focus for you. Oh, I like with the light. That looks scary. That's pretty cool. Look at his tongue. And obviously he could throw shit because of his symbiote, and he's so strong. Obviously he could throw tons of shit in the terrain at people. So another really cool one I want to show is Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. Because he's actually coming out of the dark dimension. You see those same little balls and shit? That's right here. I just thought that was cool. He's like, ah! Yep. But anyway, this cool shit just to collect, let alone the strategy of how you build the squads and how you play. Then also the enjoyment of just like building the miniatures and then painting miniatures. So a lot of different funsies going on. Well, cool. Yeah, that's my collection. Let me know what you think. I'll get some new miniatures here in the soon, but probably not in the very soon because I think I got all the ones that I'm after. Like I said, minus Blade and Moon Knight expansion, which I'm still hunting for. Well, thanks for watching. Again, this is Ismortah, and catch you next time.